Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and we at the Debe Islamic Association would like to welcome you to Ramadan Reminders. As we continue with our discussion of chapter 12 of the Holy Quran, Surah Yusuf. Today is part 11 of our series, which means we have entered the middle 10 days in the month of Ramadan, the days of forgiveness. So we shall now recite the dua for such. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Astaghfirullah Rabbi min kulli dhanbi wa tubu ilayh. I ask forgiveness of my sins from Allah, who is my Lord, and I turn towards Him. Let's look at Yusuf's undulating life, which is quite similar to all of ours, ups and downs, as Yusuf alayhi salam lived under his father's love for his first few years. And it was a very peaceful time for him until the incident where he eventually was thrown into the well by his brothers. But from there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed him to come out of that and be placed into a well-off family, right, into what we call the White House of Egypt. As we pick up the situation from yesterday, where the witness was just highlighting the analysis of whether or not the shirt was torn from the front or the back, but did not give a decision and left it to the husband, the Aziz, to make that decision himself from his own eyes. So the ayah 28 begins, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Falamma ra'a. So when he saw, and who is the he? The Aziz, the husband, the master. So when he saw, Qamisahu qudda min duburin. So when he saw that the shirt was torn from the back, he recognized certain things. Allah here is showing us a great example on how to handle a delicate, scandalous situation that might occur within our lives, that we may be tested with. What did the Aziz do? He remained calm first of all, even though it was difficult to do so in such a situation. And he acted wisely as he asked Yusuf for proof. And the analysis came from the witness. So the ayah continues, Kola. So when he recognized this now, the Aziz is saying, Innahu min kaydikunna. Indeed, certainly, he's addressing the guilty party now, his wife. Certainly, it is your plot, your plan. And he begins to scold her within limits. And the ayah concludes, Inna kaydakunna azim. Indeed, certainly, your plan is a great one, a very big plan you came up with. Now that the guilty party has been made, what did the Aziz say? He says, Yusufu arida an hadha. Yusuf, turn away from this. Forget about the wrong that she has been trying to commit and the trouble she's trying to give you, and forgive her and forget about it. Don't tell anyone about it. Don't worry, move on. But simultaneously, while he's telling Yusuf this, he then turns to his wife and he says, Wastagfiri li dhambik. And directly addressing Zuleika, he's saying, and ask for forgiveness for your sin, because he is not condoning this behavior. Innaki kunti minal qatin. Indeed, you are of the sinful. So even though the incident was kept quiet, the news still started to spread. Maybe not from the four of them, from the Aziz or his wife or Yusuf or even the witness, but maybe from the other slaves who had witnessed certain things happening in the household over a long period of time. So the ayah says, وَقَالَ نِسْوَةٌ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ. And the women in the city started to speak and started to gossip about what they were hearing. Imra'atul azizi turawidu fataha an nafsihi. And the wife of the Aziz, Zuleika, she was trying to seduce her slave boy. Now these high society women were spreading this bad gossip and were behaving as if they themselves were saints. Qad, indeed, certainly, shagafaha hubba. He has impassioned her, he has bewitched her with love. Inna lanaraha fi dalalim mubin. Certainly, we can see that she is in a clear error. And with all these things happening and all these whispers going on, Zuleika decided to act. فَلَمَّا سَمِعَتْ بِمَكْرِهِنَّ. So when she, Zuleika, heard about their scheming, about their malicious talk and spreading of the scandal, she decided to make a plan. أرسلت إليهن وأعتدت لهن متكئا. So she prepared for them a banquet as she sent for them. And it was said by some scholars that there were about 5 women who were initially spreading this gossip, but she invited them and some other dignitaries as well, maybe up to about 40 women, as this food involved in the banquet was key to her plan. وَآتَتْ كُلَّ وَاحِدَةٍ مِّنْهُنَّ سِكِّينًا. And she gave each one of them a knife. So while they were enjoying themselves and chatting along in this reunion, right, she replaced quietly in front of them very sharp knives from their normal eating knives. And then وَقَالَتِ اخْرُجْ عَلَيْهِنَّ. And then Zuleika said, "Come out before them," as she called Joseph to appear before them. As Zuleika was not sorry for her immoral act, she was trying to justify it and get others involved, as the ayah substantiates this when it continues. فَلَمَّا رَأَيْنَهُ أَكْبَرْنَهُ. Then, when the women saw him, they were completely smitten. They were taken up, they greatly admired him with the beauty that they saw in Joseph. وَقَطَعْنَا أَيْدِيَهُنَّ وَقُلْنَا حَاشَا لِلَّهِ. So they took up the knives that they had, and whatever food they were eating from the banquet, they, instead of cutting that with the knife, they were cutting their own hands. So the woman exclaimed, "Hasha lillah, ma hadha bashara." Ya Allah forbid, this cannot be a man. In hadha illa malakun kareem. He could be nothing but a noble angel. That is the effect Joseph had upon the women when they saw him. Hazrat Aisha reported that when the women saw Joseph, they cut their hands with knives. But if the women of Makkah could have seen the real beauty of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would have cut their hearts with their fingers. There's a similar motive with the blood, just as the shirt that they brought back to their father Yaqub. Similarly here, the woman's blood was testifying that this individual in front of them was not a human. He was above that, an angel. So the ayah continues, قُولَتْ فَذَلِكُنَّ الَّذِي لُمَتَّنَّنِي فِيهِ. She said, this is Zuleika now addressing the woman, "This is the one that you blamed me with, this angel that you see before you." So she's justifying her actions with no remorse, publicizing her sin. And it continues, وَلَقَدْ رَاوَدتُّهُ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ فَاسْتَعْصَمَ. And certainly, I did sought to seduce him, but he refused me. So the women now, they themselves became inclined to Joseph, unknowing to their husbands, carrying on in the same way as the Aziz's wife. So they are all now guilty. Amazingly, the women began to encourage Joseph to satisfy Zuleika, some even volunteering themselves. So Zuleika is addressing her friends and she says, وَلَئِن لَمْ يَفْعَلْ مَا آمُرُهُ. And if he does not do what I ordered him. And this tells us that she's still insisting on her way, that she has no remorse after being scolded by her husband, being found out, the rumors spreading, and the city beginning to know about her feelings towards her slave boy in her house. Nothing seems to change. And it goes on, La yusjananna. The la here is an emphasis, right? It is emphasizing and saying, surely, definitely, if he doesn't do what I ordered him to do, he will be imprisoned. So she's showing a completely different side of herself from the friendly, inviting person over the years that she's been when she's dealing with him, to one willing to use her power and influence to see him suffer if he still refuses her. وَلَيَكُونَ مِنَ الصَّاغِرِينَ. And certainly he will be of those who are disgraced. So this virus that has spread in her mind and now has influenced the other ladies, it is also affecting their homes, because the other high society homes are now having issues as the ladies are talking about Joseph at home, maybe to their friends, right? And other homes are being affected, so much so that this is now a very difficult thing for the entire town to deal with. As we have now completed part 11 and we look at the different sections there are in this story, today we finished the fourth section dealing with Aziz and Zuleika, and have done the fifth section with the women that were invited to the banquet and their role in the seduction. We've now come to the end of part 11 of our Ramadan reminders, and tomorrow inshallah we will be continuing with the ayahs 33 to 35. We now end with the dua. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم. O Lord, accept this service from us, for indeed you are all hearing, all knowing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.